Hello, everybody. As we continue on, introducing you to the Texas high school volleyball coaches through Big Daddy Media. That is my company, if I could ever learn how to pronounce it right. Yes. In concert with Texas Girls Coaches Association here in the state of Texas. Today, our interview is going to be with Jacob Thompson, the only high school volleyball coach that Rouse High School, located in the Austin area and in Leander ISD, the only coach that Rouse has ever known. He's been there with the program since day one. Not only has he done a phenomenal job with Rouse, who, by the way, has won 6 consecutive district championships going into this coming season, but Jacob, through Leander ISD and with all the schools that work with him at Volleyball tournament, has probably the best high school non-district volleyball tournament around. I don't think too many coaches would disagree with that. We have some great non-district volleyball tournaments in the first 3 weeks of the season in Texas high school volleyball, but Volleyball, boy, I'll tell you what, that is the gem of those tournaments. Now, before we send you to Jacob, just want to remind you once again, we're looking for your support, and the good news is we're not asking for money. I'm working for free. TGCA is doing this in concert with Big Daddy Media for free. And all we're trying to do is promote and give exposure to what I feel is the greatest high school volleyball programs in the world and the coaches in the world right here in the state of Texas. So please, as you can see, follow us, Big Daddy Media, on YouTube. And on Twitter, follow us at Big D Media 19. Also, we are launching our Instagram and our Facebook pages soon, right, Pepper? Pepper was there, so he heard that and wanted to support as well. But, yes, please support. And if you're watching this interview, please retweet it, share it with people, and let everybody know. This isn't about me. This isn't about TGCA. This is about the great coaches and the great programs that we are promoting here on this series of volleyball interviews. So, without now any further ado, let's get you to our interview with Jacob Thompson at Rouse High School.
Chuck Licata, Big Daddy Media, in concert with Texas Girls Coach Association, and the vaunted face of Jacob Thompson at Rouse. The only coach that Rouse High School has ever known in 15 years.
Come on, baby.
Jacob, when you hear that, does it make you feel old?
Can't you see the gray?
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. It has definitely progressed.
Oh, that's right. It
over
is
the
not
last few years, but
not shareable.
No, I don't think it makes me feel old. It's quite unique. I mean, there's a handful of coaches out there that can actually, that can honestly say that you've been that person for that amount of time. I mean, we've been fortunate enough over here. We've got 5 current head coaches on our campus that have been here since the day that we opened the school.
Wow.
So that have never left. We have 6 if you count another one that disappeared for a little bit because he had to go do. He went with his wife and they did an internship. But from start to finish so far, we've got 5 on campus that have been here since day one. So, and Coach Mann and I both have a discussion every year. We just try to figure out if I was like number 4 or number 5 hired, and we can't figure it out. We just know that we were early on in the process. So, and we've gone back and we've looked at the 2008 faculty picture, and he and I both had much darker hair at that point in time.
Don't think there was any gray in the area.
Not yet.
God, that's hard to believe. 2008. Wow. That seems like 15 years ago. No, just kidding.
It's gone by fast. Like you yourself earlier asked, is this like year 8? No, this is year 15.
It is hard to believe. Because I think I was covering Liberty Hill exclusively at the time. And, I think back to doing volleyball and when I interviewed Josh for the first ever Liberty Hill Rouse football game, and didn't seem like it was been 15 years since I was in his office to do the interview, but it has been. So,
quite quick.
Yeah, it does. Talk about what is the Rouse volleyball program, because it is Jacob Thompson's Rouse volleyball program, but if you were to explain to somebody off the street or, somebody that wants to learn more about volleyball, says, what is Rouse volleyball?
Family, culture, trust, responsibility, integrity. Those are all the things that that we do things for. But I think the biggest thing is relationships and family. And I've been blessed with players that have come through that have embraced that philosophy and that culture to be able to make us successful and do whatever. I mean, even on the coaching side, it's family and relationships oriented. I mean, all
Right.
the coaches' office are in the athletic building, and it's not separated. I've worked at schools where it's a totally separate building, and you never see the other side of coaching. You may not ever see the football coaches. Well, if I want to go visit with the football coaches and sit in the football coach's office, I can walk down the hall and I'm in the football coach's office.
Right.
The girls coach's office is right across the hall from mine. Our athletic training room basically butts up to my hallway, and it's get-togethers and messages throughout the summer, throughout the 15 years that we've been here. It's family and it's relationships. And I think that's kind of the driving force behind all of us right now.
Ironic I'm wearing red because usually when a team has been as successful as you on a consistent basis, including 6 consecutive district championships, which remember, UIL realigns every 2 years. So that's a whole bunch of different teams that you defeated to win those district championships. You're always wearing that big red target on your back. And I know we've had this discussion many times before. I used to live 10 minutes away from Rouse, so it was fun covering matches. And, we always get a chance to talk in whatever venture I'm trying to promote volleyball at the time. And, there's always that big red target on the girl's back.
I think it's always there. I mean, there's programs around the area that everybody has those targets on their back. But, it's going to continue to grow with success, and year in, year out, it doesn't change. It's not going to change at any point in time. And even if we're not winning a district title, there's still going to be a target on the back. There's always something.
Right.
It's Dripping Springs down the street. It's Westlake down the street. Everybody's got that target, regardless of how it's been. It's a name. It's a culture. It's what people are striving for. Even in a bad year, if you get knocked off by someone, it could be their Super Bowl. We talk about every game is a Super Bowl for everyone that you step across the court from.
Yep. And speaking of targets, as Butch Hart has said to me, and we continue to talk about it, Rouse is the host of the Volleypalooza volleyball tournament, week 3 of the start of volleyball season, non-district, as they say, which you have week 1 is tournaments, week 2 tournament, and then week 3, boom, there's the big spotlight on Volleypalooza. And you and I talked the other day, and I'd mentioned, Volleypalooza has become the modern day Duncanville tournament. Back in the day when Duncanville hosted a tournament where it was invite only, and they only took championship teams. And while you certainly are not invite only, the level is so good that I've talked to coaches in DFW area where I'm at now, and of course I've got the great relationships with coaches in the Houston area, and they say that's our watermark. That's where we find out what we have and how good our team is doing, and how much we still have to improve going into district by being at Volleypalooza.
I think a lot of that is, the competition is great, but I also think it's gotten to the point where we're into week 3, and at that point everybody is starting to dial in rotations, starting lineups, who subs for who, and I think it's just a culmination of kind of a little bit of everything. And you have to show up on day 1, day 2, day 3 of the tournament, but you're not necessarily playing with the lineup. week one, we're toying with lineups a little bit here and there. We're still trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, we start practice on a Monday. We're scrimmaging on Friday and Saturday, and then a lot of us are playing a match on a Monday, playing a match on a Tuesday.
Right.
We're traveling. We're playing in a tournament, and we haven't had the chance to really experiment with everything. Well, by the time you get to week 3, by the time you get to Volleypalooza, you're basically 20 to 25 matches into the season. And at that point, you've kind of solidified who's playing, who's coming in, who's not coming in. And I think at that point, you've gotten to the cream of the crop, so to speak, of your lineups. And then they really start to shine as you get into Friday and Saturday of the Division I and the gold brackets, even the silver bracket at this point in time, in the tournament. Yes, the competition is there. The top half is always invited back for the next year. And then we fill in with, district champions, regional tournament appearances, state tournament appearance teams if they're not already in it. But I just think it's a culmination of we're 3 weeks into the season and the rust has been knocked off, if you can say rust, so to speak, because we're looking at majority of these kids you're getting 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks at most off a year. So it's not a lot of rust. I think it's more along the lines of by the time you get into week 3, everybody's comfortable with everybody that they're on the court with.
Right.
They're not playing with their club team and
right.
that they're not necessarily around all the time. Now they're around someone from sun up to sundown, so to speak.
Yeah, leave it to you to kind of take the conversation away from where I want to go. So let me just be blunt, okay? It's a phenomenal tournament. Everybody loves it. There's nobody that doesn't love Volleypalooza. But as I always try to get in when we have a conversation, whether it's on the air or off the air, on the microphone, whatever, it takes a village, and you guys have a heck of a village that put that tournament on.
It's a city. So, and it is, inside my office, surrounding offices, it takes everyone. I'm not doing any of it without someone else's help. And there's too many of them to think, and too many of them to name call and everything else. And they all know, and the coaches know who help out, and the sites that we have to use, the facilities that are being used, the sponsorships, everything else that come in to help us, like game balls, Baden's been big for the last 8-9 years, and I'm hoping they come through again this year. But if not, we'll try to figure out something else, another route to go on the next side. But yeah, it's a little bigger than a village, so to speak. Villages are a little tight community. I feel like it's an entire city that helps make this thing run smooth. Without their help, obviously, it's not happening.
Now, looking forward to being there week 3 of the upcoming season, which isn't too far away, amazingly. Never seems like it's.
We're complete opposite sides of our football program. That normally hadn't been the case in years past. We've been somewhat close. I mean, I think we go to Lockhart, and I think our football team is at Waco University.
Oh wow!
On a Friday night one night, so that's different. But we lose a good program in Georgetown, a good program in Eastview. We lose a good program in Marble Falls. You replace with Hayes and Lehman and Lockhart. I don't know that anything is much different than what it has been. There's still Cedar Park, it's still Leander, it's still Glen, it's still Liberty Hill. They're there. They're going to continue to be there. It's it's a dogfight on Tuesdays and Friday nights. But I think the bigger piece, competition wise, it's still the same, but travel wise is different.
Yeah. And of course, you work with the AP club. You talked about club volleyball.
You need to go to school. It also translates around here also. the biggest thing is an educational piece on how to help kids along and parents along in the process of getting recruited. And it's a tough job, and it's never really it's not an easy job at times.
Right.
Because not everyone can go play at that highest of highest levels. There's not many kids that are in that top 1% of the 1% that are going to play, or the top 1% of the 3% that are going to play collegiate volleyball. So it becomes difficult sometimes. But it's fun. I enjoy it. I like to talk to people. I think I've never met a stranger, so I enjoy that aspect of it.
Yeah. Talking to Jacob Thompson of Rouse here. It's funny because on one hand, you're very anal about stuff. I mean, very specific, very particular. And on the other hand, you don't like talking about personal accomplishments. But I'm going to make you talk about a personal accomplishment. Talk about what effect, if you sat down and thought about it, I mean, win 500. That's pretty freaking amazing for a volleyball coach to have 500 wins in a career. Yes, there's, quite a few have done it, but there's quite a bit that haven't reached 500. What did 500 mean to you?
I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old.
That out?
Maybe I'm getting old.
Well, I told you 15 years at Rouse.
There's coaches out there that obviously I don't hold a candle to, and there's 700, 900, 800 wins, and you send them a text message and congratulations, and I don't think that anybody does it just for wins and losses, because it's always the same comment. It's just means I'm old. It means I've got a lot of relationships. I've built a lot of relationships over the years, and for those kids to be a part of it, it's fun for them to be a part of it. The ones that came before, the ones that are coming up, soon enough, and the ones that are currently there, it's them. I don't know that we've ever really we don't do any celebrations. I try to keep it as under wraps as I can. I didn't even realize when I hit 300 at one point in time, and one of the parents did, because they had done some research. And
wow.
I didn't even realize it. And then the district started asking for records and overall records. So you have to start keeping a running tally of it. And then, people start to ask questions. Well, how many wins have you had? And other coaches, younger coaches that are getting into the profession, and they, how many wins? I feel like you've had a lot. And it's not me. I mean, I've had some good kids that have come through the years and through the ranks and through the hallways that have helped that. 500 is like the first one. They're all the same. They're all special. They all hold a special meaning. But it just means I've got a lot of good relationships that have been built over 21 years.
Mm-hmm. That was actually more thoughtful than I thought it would be. So kudos. You put a little more thought into that than I thought you would.
I really didn't. That was on a whim. But again, I mean, it's like I said earlier, we're relationships and family here. And I think that the longer we're in the profession, I think the more that we value relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's become a big piece behind coaching for me, is the relationships. Are they always great? Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it's not necessarily great. It's always nice to have a message 5 or 6 years down the road from a kid that may or may not have played much while they were there, that just sends a, hey, I finally see it. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's or a former player that has a child that, again, didn't play huge roles in matches or huge roles. I mean, we all play a role. They're not all the same, obviously. But they have a daughter, and it's like, hey, you need to stick around until she's done playing high school. Oh, that's a long time away. I don't know what another 18 years is going to look like for me. But I just think that the older that we get, the more that we realize the relationships is what builds our community. There's too many coaches getting out right now because of relationships, whether it's tough relationships with parents or a tough relationship with a kid, and they don't want that, so they just get out of the profession.
Right.
It's tough. I mean, it's been a tough last couple of years.
Oh yeah.
You know, COVID set in, and you realize real quick, you're like, oh, I really miss it. You know, and then it comes into the relationship piece, and that's just something that we've kind of stuck around with.
Yeah. Yeah. I look forward to being down there. Look forward to certainly being at Volleyball and watching you run around like a chicken with your head cut off because of everything, and watching everybody else that makes that tournament work for sure. And of course, Butch and I will both be there for Volleyball because, you know, it'll be a really good, it's great coverage for us. We get to see just about everybody that we need to see. At that
good time.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. So, before I go, quick shout outs you want to give to anybody?
Community.
Anybody.
You know, the Rouse community, family. That's it. You know, all the coaches that are sticking out through the hard times because times get tough sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Jacob Thompson, thanks for your time, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you. All right, man.